I'm Elia Locardi, and for over a decade, I've been traveling the world full-time as a professional photographer. The more I explore, the more I discover that my life isn't just about the photos I capture, it's a collection of everything that happens in between. These are the real stories behind each moment in time. Number one tip for preventing jet lag is stay hydrated, because the way they climatize the airplanes and the pressure actually dries you out. Now, something to try to avoid on an airplane because you're trying to stay hydrated is alcohol. So do your best to not drink on the flight. And if you do decide to have a drink, make sure to have a single and not a double. So let's say my arrival time is midnight and I have 20 hours of in-flight time. The best thing I can do is... It's a general boarding announcement. The best thing I can do is try to stay awake for a little while in the beginning, then take an afternoon nap, and then try to stay awake for the remainder of my flight. So that way, when I arrive, hopefully my body clock is reset to make me think that it's actually midnight. So, together with my team and a lot of gear, we headed to the airport, boarded a plane, and began our 11,000-mile journey from Florida to Singapore. This self-sustaining island city-state in Southeast Asia is an ultra-modern metropolis and a paradise for cityscape photographers. Singapore is full of world-class architecture, beautiful green spaces, and most importantly, a community of amazing people from all over the world. Ever since my first visit here, I was welcomed into the photography community and immediately treated like family. Singapore quickly started to feel like home, which is a really special feeling for someone who lives on the road full-time. Singapore actually has what's considered to be the longest unbroken pedestrian walkway in the world. So most of these areas that we're walking will connect over another bridge, underneath a tunnel, and then through different parks. So they're able to give people with such a small, limited space in this tiny city-state as much recreational space as possible. Part of Marina Bay though, and part of Singapore, you can't get away from it, is the Marina Bay Sands building. So it's the 3 columns with the big sort of thing across the top, has an infinity edge pool, which is really nice. And right next to it is the Flower Building. It's an art and science museum. To talk a little bit more about this area, I met up with my old friend and talented commercial photographer, Edward Adios. He mentioned something very interesting. Not only was this area 100% man-made, but it also came from reclaimed land that didn't exist before.
As you know, Singapore is land scarce. So the entire area here you see, Marina Bay Sands, the bridge, they're all reclaimed, including Marina Bay Financial Center.
So modern Singapore happened in the 70s, right?
Yep. Back in those days, our government, they say, okay, if you don't have land, we reclaim.
The late Prime Minister, right?
Yeah, his vision is just awesome. What he did right was he made compulsory for education and also English as the first language.
You'll see like t-shirts around Singapore that says Singapore is a fine city, yes, F-I-N-E, and they have all like, no chewing gum, no doing this, no spitting.
You have to flush the toilet.
You have to flush the toilet. This is one that I was always wondering if like somebody was going to run in after me and check. Did he flush the toilet? But so far I haven't encountered that.
You can do what you want, just don't get caught.
You see, like everybody here who walks around, whether a local or expat or even just a visitor, everybody just enjoys the city.
I believe strongly it's history, right? Because Singapore is just an island and it's multiracial, and we have been living together peacefully for a long time. So if so many races can live together for a long time and not have any issues in terms of race or religion, it will be a nice place to live.
With photography, scouting is essential. And you can really think of scouting like exploring, just simply exploring the environment and figuring out which subjects you intend to photograph. Now, I like to do my scouting in the middle of the day because the light is at its worst. That way I can spend as much time as I need trying to figure out what I want to photograph and then return to those locations at the most beautiful times like sunrise and sunset. By far my favorite piece of architecture in Singapore is the Helix Bridge. It was built in 2010, originally called the Double Helix Bridge. During the day, it's obviously fun to walk along this bridge, but at nighttime is where it really shines. Literally, it's covered with different lights and you have a full illumination of the actual path. So right now is not the perfect time of day to see it, but at night, it's extraordinary. The other cool thing about this bridge, it has 4 viewing platforms where you can view the city and the Art Science Museum. Take a quick shot here from viewpoint number 1. It's nice, but it's really all about that flower building. It might actually work better as a vertical composition. So I think that's the best for viewpoint number 1. Next up, viewpoint number 2. A little further away from the flower building, and now we reveal the city behind. The flower building is still the main element, but Central Business District looks really nice too. Shooting in the middle of the day definitely has its challenges. One, because of the harsh light, but also just being able to see the back of your screen. I have an electronic viewfinder, so I can isolate the scene and block out all of that light, and I can perfectly see the scene crystal clear. Viewpoint number 3 is all about looking back, because now we have enough of the Helix Bridge itself to capture the length of the bridge, Marina Bay Sands, and the flower building, including downtown core. So this is really fun, and you can really take advantage of a wide angle lens. So far, number 3 is definitely my favorite, but let's go ahead and check out number 4, just in case. We have the floating stadium. Personally, I find it very distracting. Let's look this way. When you're shooting down a bridge, all about perspective. Interesting leading line. Nice, I like this one. Once we leave Marina Bay and we actually cross the entirety of the Helix Bridge, it brings me to my favorite photography location in all of Singapore. I hate this thing. I hate that thing. It's so ugly. What is that? Take a look at this frame. I feel like this has a nice balance. We have the bridge, we have the viewing platform. Unfortunately, also to the bottom right, we have a little portion of this strange little dock. So we can either paint that out in Photoshop, which is pretty easy, or we can try moving a little bit to the left and take a similar shot. Just by moving maybe 10 or 12 feet to the left, I've transformed the composition. Now, the main part of the composition puts the emphasis on the bridge. We are actually underneath the bridge, leading into the Marina Bay Sands, but that viewing platform actually covers it up. I do like this composition in this perspective, but I prefer the first one that we took. So in this case, just clone that thing out of the water. This composition is exactly what I want, but it's during the blue hour where this shot really comes alive. Now that I have the entire area scouted, I know exactly where to stand. Next, Edward and I wanted to visit the Merlion, which is pretty much the most iconic thing in Singapore. But well, this happened. So 2 weeks ago, they started this, and it's not going to complete till May, which means that the Merlion, the #1 attraction in Singapore, is actually completely closed. Not only is it closed, you can't even see it. So thankfully, there's a mini Merlion right over there. So that's kind of where all the action is. Everybody is sort of grouping up around there so they can at least get the Merlion selfie, because you gotta get the selfie. Edward, correct me if I'm wrong, but the history of the Merlion was that the Malay prince who originally set foot on Singapore was said to have seen a lion when he was arriving.
Yeah, it's actually an Indian prince.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he saw the lion, so he named the island Singapore.
And Singapore, Singa means lion,
Yeah.
Pora means
Singa means lion, Por is island.
island. Yeah, so Singapore is actually Lion City.
Lion City, yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, so this is going to be a little tricky. You're gonna have to help me. Like I'm gonna have to get into character here. I'm gonna be catching and drinking the wealth. So
Yes, you are.
all right, you got to position
Yes,
me.
you are.
Did you just light meter me?
Yes.
Okay, position me.
Okay, you gotta go lower. Lower, forward. Forward, okay, tilt up your head, tilt higher. 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 Okay, lower, lower. Okay, cool.
Who knew wealth tasted so much like chlorine?
Even though it might not look like it, getting a Merlion selfie isn't the only reason I'm visiting Singapore.
This is oddly satisfying.
One of the ways I make my living as a photographer is by teaching workshops all over the world. And today's post-processing workshop is at the Fujifilm studio in Suntec City. On the wall of the studio, I noticed an exhibit by my friend Mindy Tan. Mindy is a very talented street and editorial photographer, and I asked if she'd be willing to share with us a bit about her photography and technique.
Coming. Hey,
How are you?
welcome.
Been a while.
Yeah, it
Thanks
is.
for inviting us.
You're welcome. Come on. Okay, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. It's a very cool place.
So I actually got this as a really rundown place. It was like a workers' dormitory. The renovation was about 3 months, and you're one of the first few guests to see it.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. I feel very honored. How long has your family lived in Singapore?
I'm third generation. So my grandmother, she sailed in a boat from China to Singapore.
Wow.
So my mother is born in Singapore. Some of these photos, like this is a really old coffee shop. So the coffee is still brewed using charcoal.
Charcoal brew.
So they're famous for buttered coffee. So these guys, they've like invested their entire life in this coffee shop. It's open like 7 days a week.
Wow.
So they don't take breaks. Elia, I'll show you a really cool book. This is by a Singaporean enthusiast, photography enthusiast. His name is Ko Kim Che. So over the years, he's actually photographed in film old Singapore. In Singapore, like 80% of all housing is public housing. So when I was a child, my grandmother's apartment looks exactly like this. A really long block of flats, and all the layouts are the same inside. And then there's this really long corridor. So our government would regularly announce like, okay, we're gonna tear down this particular neighborhood. So it's been sort of like a personal project of mine to go to the neighborhoods and sort of capture the life in that neighborhood before it disappears.
Yeah.
So this is a project I did about, I think 2 years ago.
Okay.
So basically this neighborhood, it's got a few hundred apartments, was to be torn down to make way for an expressway to pass through. And I went into this family and they were so keen on showing me their sort of treasures. So he took out a chopping board, which his parents had for many years, and he was sort of pulling out, you know, oh look, I've got this, yeah, I've got that. So in a way I felt that I was sort of validating his, you know, the fact that he was moving out. You know, he knew he was being documented, he just wanted it on record.
Looking through Mindy's photos made me realize that street photography is all about finding authentic experiences and connecting with your subjects. That's why we decided to go to Little India and put some of Mindy's techniques into practice.
The Indian temples are always one of my favorites because of the smell, the flowers, and the incense.
I like it too because of there's always so many colorful characters.
All the deities, the different Indian deities.
So first of all, you have to kind of understand the location you're in, right?
Yeah.
What makes this special? So we're walking around here and now people are offering prayers and giving prayers. Because this is sort of a sacred site, is it considered rude to take photos of people when they're praying?
Well, technically it is rude. I wouldn't like the same thing to be done on me. So the way I would approach it is to go about it really fast.
Is it helpful when you do things like this, when you can maybe you know, take photos when people aren't really expecting you to?
Like sometimes I have my students like pretend like this that they didn't take a photo, but I think this is really nasty.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
and for me at least, ethically, I think it doesn't work. So for example, I would do this. So it becomes very clear, outright clear, what my intention is. Permission could be in the sense of standing in front of the subject and letting them know that you are there with a camera.
Okay.
And that you do look like at any point you could be taking a shot. So let's say if I see a beautiful face like the lady in front of me, so I could jolt out of the street photography mode and ask her if I could take a portrait. So that might work. So I'll get my settings correct before I even go approach, because I don't want to fumble.
Of course.
So then I'll go and I'll ask her.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am. Can I take a photograph of you? Can I take a photo? Okay. Thank you. Ah, smiling is nice. Smiling.
Well, this was a situation we were getting quite close to her too. So it goes beyond just, hey, I'm actively taking a photo of a scene. I'm now getting in your face for a portrait because we're shooting quite wide. So I think that's a good indication. You should probably ask, because you're going to get a better expression. And she wanted to have her photo taken, and she made a very beautiful face.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to always be on the same level as the subject.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to be standing and taking a top-down image of her. So it was important that I got down to the same level as her, so that we're eye to eye, at least, when I'm asking her. So if I intended to take a top-down, my first few images would always be straight on, just to establish that connection that I'm taking a photo. And then I'll move around to other angles that I feel.
Okay. I feel like I've learned a little bit more about this now.
I mainly focus on travel and landscape photography, so it was a great experience to step outside of my comfort zone and learn techniques from Mindy. But now, daylight is fading and it's time to meet Edward back at Marina Bay so we can capture the laser show.
We could go shoot out on this little platform here where everybody else is, which is fine, like you could set up, but we want to get this on a tripod because we want to capture the lasers and it's low light. So our best bet is to find somewhere that's less populated, not because you need to be away from the people, mostly so somebody doesn't bump into the tripod and mess up your shot. When I'm scouting, I often just use my iPhone, and let me just snap a photo so you can see this as well. I can frame pretty much the entirety of what I want to photograph, but it's really tight. So when I'm scouting, I know that if this is 28 millimeter and I want to shoot wider, then I'm going to need a certain lens, a wide lens. Not only because I want more of the architecture, just to sort of push it in the center of the frame, we want to capture the lasers, so I want more of the sky. This is a higher resolution medium format camera, so it captures 52 megapixel, so I should be able to get a lot of the details that I'd lose with a lower megapixel camera. So if I take a shot right now, that's the general composition that I want. I kind of have the Marina Bay Sands building right in the center, and I've left a lot of room for the sky. The idea being, once the lasers start, I should be able to capture all those lasers. But what I can't stand is right now, I have 3/4 of a wooden boat. During sunset, when the sun was still out, I was able to get fast shutter speeds because there was plenty of light entering the camera. But as it got darker and darker, my settings in camera are giving me shutter speeds of like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, which is actually pretty cool. So it gives a nice soft effect to the water, softens out all the ripples, and actually makes the boats look kind of cool. Laser show's starting. My camera's set to 1 second exposure. It's got some really good settings with 1 second. Really pretty too, because all the lights are going. Lights rolling across the roofs of those things, turning from red to blue to green. Really quite a beautiful show. In my opinion, it's the most beautiful laser show in the world. At the end of a long day and after a successful photo shoot, the best way to unwind is with good friends, cold beer, and amazing street food. Thank you for watching this episode of Moments in Time. Tune in this season as we visit 7 unique countries and meet dozens of amazing artists. To learn more and join the conversation, head over to our Flickr community.
We're shooting on the XT30 from Fujifilm, 16mm lens, and this tiny little gimbal from Zhiyun. It's like a perfect little to-go package for when we're in transit. We don't have to bring out any of the big cameras or lenses.
That's how we do it.
Would you say it's travel-sized?